The call of adventure is a powerful force, one that beckons the brave and the curious to step beyond the familiar and into the unknown. 9 souls into the unknown. January 1959. The Ural Mountains, a place of stark beauty and unforgiving wilderness, stood as their destination. A group of young people, full of life and thirsty for adventure, were preparing to challenge the icy peaks of the Ural Mountains. Their spirits were high, and their hearts were filled with the thrill of the journey ahead. 9 students from the Ural Polytechnic Institute, led by the experienced Igor Diátlov, ventured on an expedition that promised to test their skills and courage. Each step they took was a step into a world where nature reigned supreme. Their goal, to reach the summit of Mount Otorten, known as the Mountain of the Dead in the local Mansi language. This ominous name premonitorily announced the tragedy that was coming, casting a shadow over their ambitious plans. They were equipped with everything necessary to face the extreme conditions of the Russian winter. Heavy gear, warm clothing, and a wealth of experience were their allies, but nothing could prepare them for what awaited them in the white immensity. Excitement mixed with uncertainty in their hearts, as they entered a territory as beautiful as it was relentless. The vast, snowy expanse stretched out before them, a canvas of white that held both promise and peril. The group, made up of 7 men and 2 women, shared an adventurous spirit and a passion for nature. Around the campfire, they laughed and shared stories, their bonds growing stronger with each passing day. Among them were Yuri Krivonishenko, a young engineer with a poet's soul, whose thoughtful gaze often wandered to the horizon, dreaming of what lay beyond. Zinaida Kolmogorova, a radiophysics student with a contagious smile, whose laughter could brighten even the coldest of days. And Rustem Slobodin, a mechanical engineering student known for his wit and good humor, always ready with a joke to lift the group's spirits. Each one brought their own spark to the group, creating an atmosphere of camaraderie and optimism. Their shared experiences and mutual support made them more than just a team. They were a family. The journey promised to be challenging, but they trusted in their preparation and the strength of the group to overcome any obstacle. They faced each ascent with determination, their eyes set on the summit, their hearts united in purpose. Little did they know that fate had a date with the inexplicable in store for them. The darkening sky and the foreboding wilderness hinted at the mysteries and dangers that lay ahead, waiting to test their resolve and their very survival. The icy silence, a macabre discovery. The night was cold and unforgiving, the kind of cold that seeps into your bones and makes you feel as if the world itself is holding its breath. The snow-covered forest stood still, cloaked in an eerie ambience that seemed to whisper secrets of the past. It was in this frozen wilderness that a chilling mystery began to unfold. Days passed, and the families of the young hikers awaited news with growing concern. Each day felt like an eternity, filled with a gnawing anxiety that only grew stronger with each passing hour. The families clung to hope, but the silence was deafening. They gathered around, looking at photographs of their loved ones, their faces etched with worry and fear. The deadline for their return came and went, plunging everyone into unbearable anguish. The date marked on the calendar, once a beacon of hope, now served as a grim reminder of their absence. The concerned faces of family members told a story of despair and helplessness as they waited for any news, any sign of life. A rescue group was quickly organized to search for the missing youths. Volunteers and professionals alike came together, driven by a shared sense of urgency and determination. They prepared their equipment meticulously, knowing that the harsh conditions would test their limits. The group set out, their hearts heavy with the weight of the unknown. Uncertainty loomed over them as they entered the mountains, following the tracks that the snow had not completely erased. Each step was a reminder of the fragility of life in such an unforgiving environment. The footprints in the snow were like breadcrumbs, leading them deeper into the heart of the mystery. The search led them to the slope of Mount Kolatsyakl, Mountain of the Dead in the Mansi language, a name that now took on a chilling meaning. The mountain stood tall and imposing, its snowy slopes hiding secrets that had yet to be uncovered. The name itself sent shivers down their spines, as if the mountain was warning them of the horrors that lay ahead. There, in the midst of the white desolation, they found the first sign of the tragedy. the group's tent, abandoned and torn from the inside, as if an invisible force had ripped it apart. The sight was both shocking and perplexing. How could such a sturdy tent be so violently damaged? What kind of force could have caused this? The discovery of the camp unleashed more questions than answers. The investigators examined the site meticulously, but the more they looked, the less sense it made. The perplexed faces of the rescue team mirrored the confusion that everyone felt. What had happened here? What had driven the hikers to such a desperate act? The young people's personal belongings, including their coats, shoes, and supplies, were inside the tent, untouched. It was as if they had left in a hurry, abandoning everything that could have provided them with warmth and safety. The neatly arranged items inside the tent stood in stark contrast to the chaos outside. It was as if they had fled precipitously, leaving behind everything that could delay their escape. The scattered personal belongings in the snow told a story of panic and urgency. The footprints leading away from the campsite were erratic, as if the hikers had been running for their lives. The investigators found themselves facing an inexplicable enigma. Every clue they uncovered only deepened the mystery. The puzzled expressions on their faces reflected the growing sense of dread. What had they stumbled upon? What kind of force had driven the hikers to such desperate measures? What could have forced a group of experienced hikers to abandon their shelter in the middle of the polar night, with temperatures close to 30 degrees Celsius below zero? The conditions were brutal, and the decision to leave the tent seemed almost suicidal. Yet something had driven them to take that risk. What kind of terror had they faced? What kind of threat had stalked them with such ferocity as to make them flee in terror, regardless of the deadly cold that awaited them outside? The shadowy figure in the distance, the fearful eyes looking out into the night, all painted a picture of unimaginable horror. The questions lingered, haunting the minds of those who sought answers. What had truly happened on that fateful night in the mountains? The marks of the enigma wounds that whisper secrets. These marks, etched into the very fabric of the snow-covered landscape, tell a story that words alone cannot capture. They are the silent witnesses to a tragedy that has baffled and intrigued for decades. Days turned into weeks, and the search for the 9 hikers continued relentlessly. The rescue teams, braving the harsh and unforgiving conditions, combed through the vast expanse of the Ural Mountains. Each day brought new challenges, but also a glimmer of hope that they might find some clue, some sign of life. The white blanket of snow began to reveal, little by little, the bodies of the missing youths. It was a grim and heart-wrenching discovery. The once vibrant and adventurous spirits were now lifeless forms, frozen in time and space. The snow, which had initially concealed their fate, now reluctantly gave up its secrets. As they found them, confusion and horror seized the investigators. The scene was unlike anything they had ever encountered. The expressions on their faces told a story of disbelief and dread. What could have caused such a catastrophe? The questions began to mount, each more perplexing than the last. Some of the bodies were barefoot, others were only wearing underwear. This bizarre and unsettling detail added another layer of mystery. Why would experienced hikers, familiar with the dangers of the cold, be found in such a state? Theories began to form, but answers remained elusive. Autopsies revealed inexplicable injuries, bone fractures that did not correspond to a simple fall or an animal attack. The medical examiners were puzzled. The injuries were severe, yet there were no external wounds to explain them. It was as if the bodies had been subjected to a force beyond human comprehension. There were signs of massive internal trauma, broken ribs, fractured skulls, all without visible external marks on the skin. This finding was particularly disturbing. How could such extensive damage occur without leaving a trace on the outside? The mystery deepened, and the investigators were left grasping at straws. It was as if they had been hit by an invisible force, a force that left no trace of its passage. This invisible force theory, while far-fetched, seemed to be the only explanation that fit the bizarre circumstances. The idea of an unseen power wreaking havoc in the remote wilderness was both terrifying and fascinating. The mystery deepened further into the realm of the inexplicable when it was discovered that the clothing of some of the hikers had high levels of radiation. This unexpected discovery added a new dimension to the case. Radiation, in such a remote and pristine environment, was an anomaly that defied logic. Theories soared, from secret military experiments to the impact of some unidentified flying object. The presence of radiation led some to speculate about covert military activities, while others leaned towards more fantastical explanations involving extraterrestrial encounters. Each theory, no matter how outlandish, seemed to hold a kernel of possibility. The lack of a logical explanation for the deaths and the strange circumstances of the case fueled all kinds of speculation, turning the Diátlov Pass tragedy into a magnet for paranormal scholars, conspiracy hunters, and lovers of the unknown. The Diátlov Pass incident remains one of the most enduring mysteries of the 20th century, a puzzle that continues to captivate and confound. It is a story of adventure turned tragedy, of questions without answers, and of wounds that whisper secrets